Hello, builders. We would love to welcome you to this episode of the Build Your Success podcast. Here at the Build Your Success podcast, we like to build you so you can build others. We do that through our coaching, training, and speaking events. We also do that through our special guest on the podcast. I am grateful today to have Alex Tremble. Alex is an award-winning speaker, author, and leadership expert who has over 10 years of experience coaching and advising some of our nation's most senior level government leaders. He is also the host of the Alex Tremble Show, which brings together successful executives from across the world to provide executive and aspiring executive leaders with strategies needed to increase their influence and achieve greater career success. Alex, welcome to the podcast today.
How are you doing, kind sir?
I'm doing marvelous. It is great to have you here. Wow, what this influence you have over these senior executives and government and leaders. That's a great foundation. You and I were having a conversation before about where you got that started. And so we'll dive into that. Let me ask you the question I ask all of my guests.
Yeah.
What does leadership and being a leader mean to Alex Tremble?
Yeah. I believe at the very core, leadership is nothing more than having the ability to influence others to get something done. That's truly, if you can't influence others to get something done that they want to do or otherwise wouldn't do, then you are not leading by definition, I would say. Now, there are good leaders and bad leaders, right? There are people who can make you do bad things, and there's people who can make you do really good things. So we're going to focus on the good leaders today.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. The first time I was introduced to that, my coach and trainer and mentor, John Maxwell, was on the stage, and he said Hitler was a leader.
Yep.
And, we kind of all were stunned by that comment. He led for evil. So you can lead for evil, or you can lead for good. The choice is yours, how you choose to lead and where you choose to lead.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about something you put in your application here. And this is a great place to tell those that are listening. If you ever want to be a guest on the podcast, or you know someone that should be a guest on the podcast, go to our website, buildcs.net, fill out our guest application, and then we'll have something to talk about on your podcast. So here, Alex told us that the first point is people like people who give them stuff. This statement sounds shallow, but he can promise that it's not. The questions leaders should be asking is, how can I give as much value as possible? And I summarize this thought: giving is a value. So Alex, tell us about how leaders should be giving and thinking about giving.
So, it's funny. I love making that statement. I ask this in all of my trainings I give, and the talks I give. I say, well, think of someone who you really care a lot about. You have a really close relationship with. Let's say someone, your mom, your dad, your best friend, whoever it may be. Ask yourself, is that person close to you because they give you stuff? And everyone will generally say, no, that's bad. I'm not that shallow. But I say, oh, well, don't they give you their time? Don't they give you their compassion? Do they give you your ear sometimes? So any good relationship, any positive, healthy relationship is nothing more than two individuals giving something back to one another. Again, it doesn't have to be money or items as cars and whatnot, but you have to be able to give of yourself to have a truly impactful relationship with someone. So as a leader, your question should be, how do I provide? What do I need to be giving to those who work with me, for me, and around me, so I can make them happy or make their life that much easier, let's say, because it's not always going to be happy, but how do we make their life that much easier? How do we remove boundaries? What do I have that I can share with other people? So I love talking about that.
Yeah, and it is so important to be able to give. In fact, most work relationships start off with, what are you going to give me? What are my wages going to be? What are the benefits? And so we're to be frank, we're selfish people. We want to be given. We want things to be given to us. And
Absolutely.
So it's very important that we recognize that is someone's need, is they want things in life. And if you can help them to get those things, then boy, how much can you help and develop someone when you're able and you have the resources and you have the talent to help them meet their goals.
I love that. I love this topic that we were going, because there's a huge difference between what someone wants, right, and what someone needs. And when we're talking about wants and needs, we are much more likely to do something and be happy when someone gives us something we want versus something we need. So again, as we're talking about how do we give to other people, you have to be very intentional about one, understanding what are their wants, not what do I want to give them, not what's important to me or what would I like or appreciate, is what do they want? And then if you can also be the really good ones, the really good ones can also say, well, I know they want A, B, and C, but they also need X, Y, and Z. So how do I do both? How do I couple these two together so they're getting what they want, but also what they need? Again, that's a great skill to have if you want to just elevate yourself and your ability to rise as a leader.
Yeah, that is great. I like the point of wants and needs, the variation there, because there is a differentiator. You know, we need air, we need water, we need food, we need all those things. Frankly, we most of us have those things,
Mhm.
but it's our wants and our desires, our dreams that really drive us. And
Mhm.
so it's
Mhm.
great if you can help someone achieve that. It's phenomenal. And to recognize that each other need, and if you can, Alex, you can help me achieve my dreams, and I can help you achieve yours.
There you
Now it's a
go.
win-win situation. And if we can help each other, I've been paying attention recently to the saying, "A rising tide lifts all ships." And
Mhm.
if we can make each other understand, if we can all get better together, then
Yes.
we're in a good place. You know, before our show, you and I had a conversation, and you were telling me about a young man that you saw some leadership characteristics in. And I just want you to share that with the audience.
Well,
This
thank you.
15-year-old.
No, thank you so much, Brian. I love this story. So back in the day, when I was working for the U.S. National Park Service, I oversaw National Youth Employment Program. So in that job, I had the opportunity to travel the country, meeting a lot of just magnificent youth and young adults all across the country. And this one conference I was asked to come and speak at, I met this 15-year-old Native American boy, and him and I were just having a great conversation, just chilling. I said, "Hey, what's been going on recently in your life?" And he said, "Well, I just finished tracking and hunting a lone wolf." I was like, Sorry, what'd you say?" He said, "Yeah, I tracked and hunted a lone wolf." I said, "How old are you?" He said, "I'm 15." And I said, "You are the poster child for how we should be looking at these quote unquote young people around us. These young people, all of us, I consider myself young, and Brian, we on the same boat. So, don't look at those quote unquote youngers, the millennials, the Z, I don't know what all the different things are, but don't look at them and put a cap on what they're able to accomplish. You should be looking at them and say, hey, what do you want to accomplish? And how do I help you get there? How do I remove barriers? How do I allow you to challenge yourself? How do I allow you to fail safely so that you can learn from that and then get up and be even greater?" This young man inspired me so much, because I don't feel comfortable hunting a lone wolf, but he did at 15. So imagine what he can do and how confident he feels walking into a room saying, "Yeah, if I can do this, I know I can talk to these leaders. I know I can do this stuff."
Yeah, and you and I were also having a conversation around this. We have made it so comfortable for young people
Mhm.
today that they don't get out and
Yeah.
aspire to do great things. Have you been to the Lost Sea in Tennessee, the underwater
No,
sea?
no, no.
So there's this cave in Tennessee that has this body of water that you can actually put a pontoon boat in, and you can see these trout and fish. And an 8-year-old child
Yeah,
back a long time ago, while he's out trekking through the woods,
yeah.
found the lost sea. And I visited with my children. I have twin boys, they're 21 now.
Hmm.
And I thought, I wouldn't want my boys out here in these woods down in this cave by themselves. And yet, previous generations, it was about discovery. It was about
Yeah,
challenging things.
yeah, yeah.
And this is a great segue. In your application here, you said many of the fears and lack of actions can be summarized in the following belief systems. And so you said, I will never be good at networking. I have never been good at networking. I should not have a network. So this is around networking, but the whole belief system, the young 15-year-old man you used felt like he was capable of spending 2
Oh,
weeks in
yeah.
the woods looking for the lone wolf. how do we do that? How do we change our belief systems, and how do we encourage others to change their belief systems to meet some goals?
You know what? I love that question. It's a great question. There's two answers I would provide you off just off the top of my head. The first one is going to sound super simple, but I promise you, it's real. Change your words. You gotta change your words. I met the Admiral Thad Allen back in the day. He's the man who was credited for really turning around the Hurricane Katrina crisis and saving a lot of lives. And him and I spoke, and when him and I were speaking together, he said that we have to use where we are as a ladder, as a stepping stool, and not a ceiling. So what does that mean? Well, most people use it as a ceiling. Well, as a 15-year-old, I can only. As a manager, I can only. As an executive, I can only. Versus saying, as a 15-year-old, I can. As a manager, I can. As an executive, I can. You're literally opening up your language, because once you say you can't do something, your mind immediately turns off. That's why I really enjoyed the book, the 10X by Grant Cardone, right? Because the whole book is about nothing more than really opening your mind to the possibilities. And that's by changing your words. As soon as you say you can't do something, your mind will shut off. Look, try it right now. Whoever's listening, think of something you want to do and then say, oh, I can't do it. Immediately, your creativity goes away. So the first thing is changing your language. The second is putting the right people around you. I can't stress how important the right people around you is. So we all heard it from our parents, right? Oh, don't hang out with them. They're bad influences. Don't hang out. Yeah, they're right. They're because what do we call it? We call it peer pressure, right? Peer pressure is a bad thing because people will make you, pressure you to do something you don't want to do, or it's not good for you. Well, that's not correct. Peer pressure is not a bad thing. Peer pressure is not a good thing. Peer pressure is a thing. It is a reality. It is a fact. And so if you have bad people around you, you have people with closed minds around you, if you have people around you who aren't interested in excelling and growing in their lives, then they're going to influence you to do the same exact thing. But if you have people like Brian around you, if you have people who like Alex, hopefully I can be around you one day. If you have people around you who are super motivated, inspired, and wanting to do greater things and move up in their lives and their careers and become exceptional at everything they do, then what are they going to do? They're going to peer pressure you to do even better things. And that's why I gladly say that I am probably the dumbest person in my group. I say a little tongue in cheek, but my friends and the people I'm around, my mentors, are
not today, Alex.
But they're all super successful. They all encourage me to up my game consistently. So that's why I hang around people like Brian, because he'll up my game every day. Every time we talk.
Well, I like to keep things Brian proof. So it's you're on a much higher level than I am, but it's great that you talk about how we can help others and point others in the right direction and change just the words.
Mm-hmm.
Simple isn't easy. It may be simple. Yeah. It's easy to understand, but it's not easy to do the action side of what you talked about here, how important the action side of it is. You know what? Losing weight is easy. Less calories, more exercise. And yet, I need to lose weight, but I understand how to do it. It's the action part that I need to get better about. Same thing with saving money. You save money $1 at a time.
Absolutely.
And it's easy. You save more than you spend. Mm-hmm. How simple is that? But we just need to, and to your point, the words, don't create the lid for yourself.
Oh yeah.
I can't do this because of X, Y, or Z. No. How can I do this in spite of X, Y, or Z?
Yes.
and I think people, the self-limiting beliefs and the peer pressure, the limiting beliefs around us are so detrimental to society. And we need to lift each other up instead of tearing each other apart. And hopefully we can do that as examples and surround each other with these things. Something that I know you're passionate about, Alex, because I am too, is the importance of mentorship. Having a mentor, being a mentor. Speak for a few minutes of how important that is.
Well, no, thank you so much for bringing that up. So I tell everyone the reason why I am where I am is because the mentors and people who fed into and poured into me throughout my career. I shared before we got started. My first job was creating and overseeing the Executive Leadership Development Program for the U.S. Department of the Interior. I did that when I was 23 years old. Was I that smart? Absolutely not. But I was smart enough to know that I didn't know everything. I tell people I was very confident in knowing that I don't know everything. And so I put myself around so many leaders who mentored me, who taught me what to do, what not to say, how to deal with politically complex situations. And those are the people who taught me how to navigate in the rooms I navigate now, who introduced me to the people I have in my cell phone right now. I can pick them, call some crazy, ridiculous people because of the connections that were built from my mentors. And actually, funny enough, that is why I started the Alex Tremble Show. Is because I truly felt like I was blessed to have all these people, all these successful leaders teaching me how to reach my goals and sharing their obstacles and how they overcame them. They shared it with me, and that's what allowed me to grow. And so I created the Alex Tremble Show just to do the same exact things. I have these executive leaders from across the world coming to share their stories and their advice to help individuals such as yourself and me and everyone who's listening right now reach their career aspirations.
That's excellent, man. And I, like you, I mean, that's the reason I started this podcast. I about 10 years ago, I signed up for the ACE Mentor program, Architectural Construction and Engineering. And the last 10 years, I've been mentoring high school students. And it's 25 to 40 students a year. It's turned into hundreds of students at this point, which is awesome. But I realized, man, with a podcast, I could reach some middle-aged people. I could reach and help them and mentor them through a weekly podcast. And we are actually changing it to bi-weekly. So this episode probably is at an every other week point. But it's just been awesome, the number of people I have met and the phone numbers, as you alluded to. Wow, I can pick up the phone and call some pretty substantial people because of just exposure and connections. The power of connections, Alex, is phenomenal. When you meet good people and you surround yourself with good people and you start to get that good peer pressure you were mentioning, you're unstoppable, man. The world's at your fingertips when you got the right relationships.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to make sure I also keyed in on, you build others here so they can build others. I love it because you're talking about, again, leaders reaching back and helping other people, mentoring other people. Actually, literally at the end of every episode I have on the Alex Tremble Show, it's don't just look back, reach back. Don't look around and see everyone else who wasn't here and say, oh, they should have been here. No, you bring this content to them. You bring them to the content. It's not about just helping you. It's about helping the you of the future. So I love that you're focused on the mentoring and building others. I love it.
Yeah, well, of course, I love it too. It's my tagline, but I came up with that tagline because I think you should have a mentor and you should be a mentor. And it's this human chain we can have across each other and help and grow and develop. And you heard me say it earlier, rising tide lifts all ships. And that's the boat I want to be in, is the one that's going with the rising tide. So
yeah, there.
Well, Alex, we've reached the point in the show. We've got to start wrapping things up. I'm going to bring up your website for those watching on YouTube. It's the Alex Tremble Show. How hard is that? Hey, you kept that simple for us too. But so tell our listeners what they can find at the Alex Tremble Show.
Well, the Alex Tremble Show is literally where you can go to on the website for my podcast. Again, you can find it anywhere on any other podcast site, but you can go alextrembleshow.com and find the podcast there. And if you want more information, what's going on, I strongly encourage you to visit alextremble.com. Again, super simple, alextremble.com, where you can get connected to the YouTube and the podcast and everything. I put a lot of great content out over the YouTube channel that is not on the podcast.
That is wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. And for the listeners, we'll add that to the show notes, so you'll be able to find that in our show notes. Do me a favor, wherever you're listening to this podcast, go to that platform, leave us an honest review and rating, share this podcast with others. I know Alex has said some awesome things that will help your family and friends, your coworkers. So share this podcast with them. Go to our website, buildcs.net. You'll see our events page there, all kind of things we offer at our website. So check that out, buildcs.net. We do have the Live to Lead event coming up, and we also have our Hear and Be Heard workshop. So check both of those out at our events page. Thanks Thanks for listening to the podcast today. Remember to build yourself and build others.